guys. So about 2 weeks ago I posted an Instagram story just showing a kind of crash course foundation tutorial, and I got some requests for some more in-depth instruction and just a little bit more explanation of the products that I use. I'm gonna go into like eyeshadow or lips or anything like that. This is just how I set my canvas. So I'm starting with a primer. This is from the Recharge Regimen, and it is, let's see, SPF 30. So if I go without makeup, which I actually do a lot, then I put on a facial sunscreen. But if you're gonna do makeup, then if your primer and or foundation have the SPF in it, that's great because then you have one less layer to apply to your face. But I love this, it smells just like clean, feels just velvety on my skin. So I'm putting this all over my face, including around my eyes. And I'm using my fingers to apply to myself. If I was doing this on somebody else, I would use, this one's kind of gross, but I would use one of these spongy tippy thingies, just because they're sanitary. They don't make the smoothest application, but obviously germs are of greater concern than perfect makeup when you're doing someone else's makeup, especially right now. So in the primer, I don't have a lot of fine lines or wrinkles yet, but I definitely have some scars. So this is just to give everything a smooth set. Even if you have flawless skin, you'll find if you start with a primer, it just makes everything smoother overall. And then I'm using 3 different shades of our Dermacosmetics. I love these guys because they have SPF in them again, so that's takes the place of sunscreen. They have protectants in it just to protect your skin against environmental stressors that you're exposed to on a day-to-day basis, and they have a little bit of moisturizer in them. So it's basically skincare that takes the place of makeup. So I'm mostly using beige, which is our shade 2. Shade 1 is our lightest, and it goes up to, I think, 6 or 8 shades. I can't remember. Then I'm using a little bit of Shell, which is our lightest, and then a little bit of Golden, which is number 4. And we have a tester where you can check out which shade works for you, so I will post a link to that. But I'm starting with the beige, and our little foundation brush comes with the cover, and you can flip out about that much on the brush. And I use a 5-point system. Just do and dot it out from there, and then smooth it out. I love how this brush gets it so even. I'm not doing my eyes because SPF is actually really hard on your eyes. It can cause burning, and it can also, even if you have really high pain tolerance, it can cause redness. So I'm avoiding the area around my eyes. This is also why one reason why it's so important to take your makeup off at night. Most good quality foundations are gonna have an SPF now. And SPF protects your skin against sunlight or UV rays, but it also is a very large molecule. So if it's sitting in your skin overnight, it's not protecting you against anything, because you're probably sleeping in the dark. And it's just stretching out your pores in your skin. So it's worth it during the day, but definitely want to have it off at night. That's why also one reason why there's a difference between a lot of day and night creams and some skincare regimens, because the day has SPF in it. I'm going to carry it a little bit down my jawline just so I don't have that line right there. So you can tell now that I don't have my eyes covered that there's that natural redness that everybody has around their eyes, and it actually, even though you can't see it as well with the naked eye, it goes down your nose and your chin. We're just so used to seeing it that we don't really notice it. But when you're doing makeup, it's really important that you tone that down, because just going around with, even though you're not conscious of it and other people looking at you might not be conscious of it, that redness kind of makes your face look like you're sleep deprived or sick, which again, you really don't want right now, but you don't want in general. So I'm using, this is just basic CoverGirl concealer from a drugstore. We'll talk about some higher end makeup sometime, but most of us don't have that in our budget. And this does not have any SPF in it, so it's safer to use around your eyes. Again, the primer has a little bit, so the skin is still protected. And this can get really crepey and wrinkly as you're applying your makeup, just because this is really soft skin and your eyes move. So even though this one's got the start on it, you can still see the big difference that that makes in the redness. I try to use my, again, I'm using my fingers because I'm doing myself. Try to use my ring finger around my eyes just because that's the weakest finger and you're less likely to tear any muscles up. Hard part's getting this little area right around your lash line, but you really want to get that because if it's left red, it's going to look like you've been crying or have an eye infection. So you can see that makes a huge difference. And then if you have really light skin, then you can certainly use a concealer stick like this just down your nose and your chin. I'm going to use our Shell. Just keep up the Dermacosmetics going. See, it's a little bit lighter than the beige. I'm using the golden, a little bit darker Dermacosmetic. And I am using my Sephora Beauty Blender. I just got this, it's kind of fun because it comes in this little case and there is a bar of soap to clean it and a little, can't get it out of there, little rubber scrubby. So really nice for keeping these things clean because they get gunky really fast. But I'm just going to take the golden and put it on the tip of this beauty blender. I got a little bit wet. It's not, as you can see, dripping wet, but it's definitely damp. And then I'm looking for the crease in my cheekbone, right below it. I'm just going to apply it there and go a little bit on each side. I want to try to alternate as much as you can so that you're not getting all the makeup on one side. Then a little bit my temple. A little bit along my hairline. Down my jawline. And just a little bit down the sides of my nose. Using the very tip for this. And then I'm going to use the rounder side to blend it. It's going to look harsh at first. One, I'm doing more pigment than I normally would because I want it to show up on the camera. And two, because I haven't gone over it with powder yet, so it's going to look darker than it normally would at first. But when you think about the natural bone structure of your face, this is what you're playing up. You're not creating like denser shadows that wouldn't be there naturally. You're just emphasizing them. A lot of bronzers these days have the shiny shimmer factor to them, and one that kind of defeats the purpose of bronzer. You want to create a shadowed look, and if it's sparkling and reflecting the light, then it's just going to cancel itself out. That's also usually made with chemicals that are really hard on your skin, and there's a lot of ethical concerns with how those chemicals are obtained with the mining industry. I could do a whole different vlog on that. I'm talking about like slave labor and child labor. So yeah, if you're going to use a bronzer for this step, that's totally fine, but look for a good matte bronzer, both for health and for the sake of the environment and for the aesthetic effect. All right, so again, you can see the shadow it's kind of created. It still looks kind of unnatural, but we will blend that out with powder at the end. And then for my blush, I'm just using, again, drugstore blush. This is e.l.f. I think I just got it at Target. And a blush brush. And a lot of tutorials will tell you to smile and look for the fullest part of your cheek and apply it there. That's what I did for a long time. But that can actually make your face look kind of full or swollen. So if you want to make that sculpted look, you're going to go right above the blush, right at the hairline, and then about to the middle of your eye. Again, going a little bit darker than I normally would, just so it'll show up on camera. If you have darker skin, you might not do this at all, but you might find it easier to use a cream blush rather than a powder. It might look a little bit more natural on your skin, but it's an art. You can find what works for you. And like I was just saying, with darker coloring, this bronzer and this blush might be more optional. You probably want to put more emphasis on highlighter. With lighter skin like mine, the highlighter is the part that's more optional. I'm just going to throw a little bit on to show how I would do it, but I don't always wear highlighter. And this is, again, just drugstore palette from Wet n Wild. And it's an eyeshadow brush, but I like the smaller but still rounded bristles for this. So I'm just going a little bit right above. Where the blush was. Just a little bit down the center of my nose. Some women will also use like a white eyeshadow for this. That's fine too, if you just need to travel light. Just do a little bit on my forehead, not a whole lot. And then I use a peptide powder just to, again, it's skincare that doubles as makeup, helps fight the signs of aging. So I'm using a lighter and a darker, or lighter and medium. This is the medium. The dark one is very dark. So sometimes, obviously, if I haven't seen the sun or if I've been really in the sun, I go more one way or the other, but usually I just blend the two. And I just, whoops, don't spill. Put them together and shake them a little bit like this. And then I'm using our antibacterial brush, which I love this brush because it stores like this, but you can just push it out a little bit and make it more dense if you want to do more contouring, or you can fluff it out a little bit like this, so it's really fun. But I'm just going to get that mixed. Just doing a little bit, start at the nose, work my way out. So this, one, it helps set the makeup, and two, because this the Dermacosmetics have some foundation in, or some moisturizer in them, they have a little bit of a sheen to them when you put them on your face, so this gives you that matte finish. Last thing I'm going to do, whoops, I'm knocking things over, is apply my setting spray. And this is by Mary Kay. I'll drop the link if you do not have a consultant already. I'll drop the link for this below. But yeah, if you can't afford a good setting spray, you can put witch hazel into a bottle. It's not going to hold quite as well as an actual setting spray, but it does make a big difference. I've also seen some women, if they're in a pageant or on stage, going to be underneath the stage lights, will just take their hairspray and spray it over their face, which like super glues your makeup on. But it's also really hard on your skin, obviously really hard on your eyes, your respiratory system. So if you're going to do that, save it for when you really need your makeup to stay in place and you're going to be under bright stage lights or bright camera lights. But I love this spray. It works really great. I just hold it like 6 inches away. And then it sets the makeup really well. So I might sometimes wait to do this until I have like eyeshadow and lipstick on, but even if I'm just doing my foundation, this really sets it on and seals it on. So that is how I do just my, like I said, my canvas, my foundation. I could definitely do some future videos talking about different eye, lip looks, some different things about skincare. So if you have any requests for the future, please drop them below. Check out the links on the side for the products that I used, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.